The year is 2025 and the world of hip-hop is embroiled in a legal battle of epic proportions. On one side we have Drake, the Canadian rapper and global superstar. On the other side stands Universal Music Group, the music industry behemoth that has been instrumental in Drake's ascent to fame. The lawsuit filed by Drake on January 15, 2025 in the US District Court for the Southern District of New York sends shockwaves through the industry. At the heart of the matter lies a diss track, Not Like Us, a scathing lyrical assault on Drake by fellow rapper Kendrick Lamar, a track released and promoted by UMG. Drake's lawsuit alleges that UMG, in a calculated and malicious act, deliberately fueled the flames of controversy surrounding the diss track. He claims that UMG employed a series of underhanded tactics to amplify the reach and impact of Not Like Us, going so far as to utilize pay-to-play schemes, manipulate streaming numbers with bots, and even remove copyright restrictions to ensure the song's widespread dissemination. The lawsuit paints a picture of a powerful corporation leveraging its vast resources to punish an artist who dared to challenge its authority. Drake's accusations against UMG extend beyond mere music promotion. He claims that the song, with its inflammatory lyrics and its cover art depicting an aerial view of his opulent mansion, incited real-world threats and harassment. He alleges that he was forced to take extreme measures to protect himself and his family, even going so far as to withdraw his son from school. The lawsuit seeks substantial damages, aiming to compensate Drake for the alleged reputational and emotional harm he suffered. UMG wasted no time in responding to Drake's allegations. On March 17, 2025, they filed a motion to dismiss the lawsuit, arguing that Drake's claims of defamation are baseless and lack legal merit. The motion, a bold legal maneuver, seeks to have the case thrown out before it even reaches the discovery phase, a stage where evidence is gathered and presented. This aggressive tactic underscores UMG's confidence in its legal position. UMG's motion to dismiss is particularly noteworthy because it is filed with prejudice. This legal term carries significant weight as it signifies that if the motion is granted, Drake would be barred from refiling the same claim against UMG in the future. This move highlights UMG's determination to put a swift and definitive end to the legal battle, signaling their belief that Drake's lawsuit is nothing more than a frivolous attempt to retaliate against the label. UMG's argument for dismissal rests on the premise that Drake's defamation claims are fundamentally flawed. They contend that their actions, far from being malicious or defamatory, fall squarely within the bounds of their role as a record label. Promoting and distributing music, even controversial tracks like Not Like Us, is, they argue, a core function of their business and protected under the First Amendment. At the crux of Drake's lawsuit lies the legal concept of defamation. To successfully prove defamation, Drake faces a high burden of proof. He must convincingly demonstrate that UMG's actions were not only false and damaging, but also made with a clear intent to harm his reputation. This legal standard, known as actual malice, is particularly difficult to meet when the plaintiff is a public figure like Drake. UMG, in their defense, argues that Drake's claims of defamation are baseless and lack evidence. They contend that their actions were motivated solely by business considerations, not by any personal vendetta against Drake. They point to their long history of supporting Drake's career, investing heavily in his success, as evidence that they had no reason to intentionally damage his reputation. Drake's claim that UMG's promotion of Not Like Us directly caused him harm is also likely to face scrutiny in court. He alleges that the song's release led to a wave of threats and harassment, forcing him to take drastic measures to protect his family. However, proving a direct causal link between UMG's actions and these alleged consequences will be challenging. UMG's defense strategy hinges on a key argument: their significant financial investment in Drake's career. They emphasize the millions of dollars they poured into nurturing his talent, promoting his music, and building his brand. This argument serves to undermine Drake's claim that UMG had any motive to defame him. UMG's investment in Drake is undeniable. They signed him to a lucrative multi-album deal, provided him with top-tier producers and songwriters, and orchestrated massive marketing campaigns to propel his music to the top of the charts. This strategic partnership yielded immense profits for both parties, solidifying Drake's status as a global icon and UMG's position as a music industry titan. By highlighting their financial stake in Drake's success, UMG effectively challenges the narrative that they would jeopardize their own investment by intentionally harming their star artist. They present a compelling argument. Why would they seek to destroy a cash cow they helped create? Section 5. The success of Not Like Us, undermining Drake's claims. Ironically, the very success of Not Like Us works against Drake's claims. The diss track, far from damaging Kendrick Lamar's career, catapulted him to new heights of fame. It garnered over 1 billion streams, received critical acclaim, and even earned Grammy nominations. This widespread popularity undermines Drake's argument that the song caused irreparable harm to his reputation. Moreover, Drake's attempts to retaliate against Not Like Us with his own diss tracks fell flat. His responses failed to gain the same traction or critical acclaim, further weakening his claim of reputational damage. The public seemed more enthralled by Lamar's lyrical prowess and the drama surrounding the feud rather than siding with Drake. UMG can argue that the public's reaction to Not Like Us demonstrates that the song was simply part and parcel of the cutthroat world of hip-hop, where diss tracks are commonplace. They can contend that Drake, as a seasoned rapper, should be accustomed to such lyrical sparring, and that his lawsuit represents an overreaction to a common industry practice. Section 6. A pattern of litigation. Drake's previous legal maneuvers. Drake's legal history adds another layer of complexity to the case. It turns out that this lawsuit against UMG is not his first attempt to seek legal recourse in response to Not Like Us. In a similar case, Drake previously sued both UMG and Spotify, the music streaming giant, over the song's distribution. However, he ultimately withdrew the lawsuit, raising questions about the strength of his legal standing. This pattern of litigation, while not conclusive proof of weakness in his current case, does raise eyebrows. UMG can point to this history to suggest that Drake has a tendency to resort to lawsuits prematurely, without sufficient legal grounds. They can argue that his current lawsuit is simply another example of this pattern, a desperate attempt to silence his critics and control the narrative surrounding the diss track. This history of litigation, combined with the lack of success in his previous legal challenge, casts a shadow of doubt over Drake's current lawsuit. It feeds into UMG's narrative that his claims are frivolous and lack merit, bolstering their argument for dismissal. Section 7. A rap battle royale. UMG frames the narrative. UMG strategically frames the entire situation as a rap battle, a genre convention that Drake willingly participated in. They highlight his own history of using their platform to release diss tracks aimed at his rivals, painting him as a hypocrite for crying foul when he becomes the target. This framing effectively normalizes the release of Not Like Us and downplays any malicious intent on their part. This framing is crucial for UMG's defense as it shifts the focus away from legal technicalities and towards the cultural context of hip-hop. They can argue that Drake, as a seasoned participant in rap battles, should have anticipated and accepted the possibility of a scathing response. By placing the dispute within this established framework, UMG effectively neutralizes the perception of wrongdoing. This framing also allows UMG to tap into the public's understanding of rap battles as verbal sparring matches where boundaries are pushed and insults are traded. They can argue that Drake, by engaging in this form of lyrical combat, implicitly consented to the possibility of harsh criticism and personal attacks. Section 8. The burden of proof, a steep climb for Drake. Throughout this legal battle, Drake faces a steep climb due to the burden of proof in defamation cases. This legal principle requires him to present compelling evidence that directly links UMG's actions to the alleged harm he suffered. Given the widespread dissemination of Not Like Us and the difficulty of isolating UMG's specific contribution to any negative outcomes, this task proves to be a significant hurdle. Drake must demonstrate a clear causal chain, proving that UMG's promotional activities directly led to the alleged defamation and that this defamation in turn resulted in the specific negative consequences he claims: home invasions, threats, and financial harm. This burden of proof requires more than mere speculation or conjecture. It demands concrete evidence that would stand up in court. Drake's challenge is further compounded by the fact that Not Like Us was widely disseminated and discussed across numerous platforms. Isolating UMG's specific role in promoting the song and attributing any negative consequences directly to their actions becomes increasingly difficult in the face of such widespread exposure. Section 9, UMG's denial, a counteroffensive. UMG has issued a categorical denial of all allegations levied against them. They characterize Drake's claims as untrue and illogical, maintaining that they acted solely within their rights as a record label. This forceful denial forms the backbone of their counteroffensive, portraying Drake's lawsuit as a baseless attack motivated by personal grievance rather than legal merit. UMG's denial serves a dual purpose. It aims to discredit Drake's accusations in the eyes of the public and the court, while simultaneously bolstering their image as a responsible corporate entity. By framing Drake's lawsuit as frivolous and opportunistic, UMG seeks to garner sympathy and support, positioning themselves as victims of an unwarranted attack. UMG goes beyond simply denying Drake's claims. They actively work to portray him as the aggressor in this situation. They emphasize their commitment to protecting artists from frivolous lawsuits, implying that Drake's actions are a betrayal of their long-standing relationship and a misuse of the legal system. In conclusion, the Drake versus UMG legal showdown presents a complex web of legal arguments, industry practices, and personal vendettas. While Drake believes he has a strong case, the evidence suggests otherwise. UMG's robust legal team, combined with the inherent weaknesses in Drake's defamation claims, make it highly likely that the Canadian rapper will face an uphill battle in court. Ultimately, the judge's ruling will hinge on the strength of the evidence presented and the persuasiveness of each side's legal arguments.